This is the Refuge Project.
Welcome to the Refuge Project. The Refuge Project is a place that we can have meaningful conversation in a safe place. We are your hosts. I am Pastor David. We have James here today.
Hey.
Just us two riding Dolls for Life.
I started to say riding solo, but it doesn't quite make sense.
But yeah, man, how's it going?
It's okay. I don't know if I told you on Sunday. I threw out my back again like an old man on, I think, Friday.
All the old jokes catching up to you.
I guess so. It's like every year and a half or so, I'll move a little bit the wrong way, and just something will snap, and then I won't be able to walk for like a couple days, and it'll take me like a week or so before I'm like good to go again. So this is day like 5 or so. So I'm moving around. I'm all right, but it's still like really tight and feels weird, and I got to be like really careful.
Like I've been upper or lower?
Lower, man.
Oh, okay. Got to keep them hamstrings loose.
That them glutes I learned is like a big deal years ago. But it's just what it is, dude. Back when I was like 19 or something like that, when I first started working at the second Chick-fil-A I worked at, and I was unloading their supply truck in the mornings, I would never wear a back brace. I didn't know nothing about
safety.
Yeah,
back
I was
safety.
just the stupid young guy,
Just tossing chicken everywhere.
Yeah, just big old boxes of frozen chicken and all that. So I did that for years and just lifted things wrong all the time. And then I would kind of exercise at that point in my life, but I was definitely I wasn't the guy who like always skipped leg day, but I was definitely not focusing on my legs near as much as I should have. Mm-hmm. And I later learned that's like really important for your all your lumbar stuff, all your bending over and all, because that's where you get all your support in that area. It's like your glutes and all that.
Glutes, hammies, and then your stomach. And
your abs and all that too. So anyway, it was just like my entire childhood was just like running and jumping. So that wasn't so good on like my knees and lower back and stuff. And anyway, so at some point in my early 20s, my back would always kind of bother me. And then at some point, I don't remember what I did, but something snapped again. And that was the first time I was like, oh, my back is messed up, because I was like, I couldn't walk for a couple days. And so I went to the chiropractor, and it's funny because the chiropractor is kind of a divisive subject. Some people are like, oh, yeah, chiropractors are great. And then a lot of people are like, they're not even real doctors. They're scamming you.
Right.
And my dad definitely lives on that side of it, because he would tell me.
I think if you look at the history of a chiropractor, that's the way it was.
Yes.
If you look at modern day chiropractically
that'll work.
Practice,
that'll work. Yep.
Whatever that word is, I think they deal with more than just popping of the joints now. That they deal with muscle and
my thing was
therapy
like,
type stuff.
I was like, the story in the Bible with the blind guy, and they're like all questioning him, like, who was this guy that did that to you? Why did he know it was the Sabbath? And like all this stuff. And he's just like, look, guys, all I know is I was blind, but now I can see. And that's like how I felt when people would be like, you went to the chiropractor? Well, you know the chiropractor. I was like, look, man, you're right about all this. All I know is I couldn't walk, but I walked out of there. Right. So I went back.
Yeah.
And so this chiropractor, this guy, he's like, he knows my dad. He knows my little brother. My little brother's friends with like one of his kids, and anyway, so he kind of knew who I was and all anyway. And he was like, anyway, he realigned me or whatever. And that time, since it was extra bad, he was like, yeah, come back a couple times a week for like a few weeks and you'll be good to go. And that was true. And he said, and towards the end of it, he was like, look, I have a lot of people that come in every few months or so, and I just call it getting a tune-up.
Get a tune-up.
And he said, you might consider doing that. And I said, okay. But then I never did. And so at some point a few years after that, something snapped again. I went back and got it fixed. And then, anyway, it's happened. This is like the third or fourth time that it's happened. But I haven't been, getting a tune-up. Yep. So I feel like
tune-ups are important.
I feel like if I just went, a couple times a year, made sure I stayed on top of stretching and all that kind of stuff, because that seems to also make a big difference too. Yeah. I was also in my early 20s and childhood, I was never stretching anything. At some point, I finally took it seriously, and I was like, "Oh, this makes a whole world of a difference."
Oh yeah, I used to have one of them inversion tables.
Ooh, yeah.
Oh man, those are good. So they just gave me headaches. That's the reason I didn't like doing a lot because all the blood would flow.
I never really tried one. A lot of people said
oh man, they were great, man. Especially when I was having a lot of back problems. Just hang upside down for 10 or 15 minutes a day and just decompress everything.
Yeah, that's what they say, man.
Worked well. This Sunday, your sister was dedicating her baby.
Yep.
And what's the little boy's name?
The youngest one?
Yeah.
Josiah.
Josiah, yeah, that's right.
It's Luke, Josiah, and then now it's Remy.
Josiah running around on the stage. Yeah, oh man, when I seen him, man, it's just like little Garrett, little Ben.
Oh yeah, dude.
You know,
do you see Luke as they're walking up the stairs? He's like waving to everybody, like he was a prince or something. He's like, "Hello, hear me."
Yes.
Yeah, like I was like, this guy. This guy right here.
Kids are great, man.
Yeah, they're cool.
Yeah,
Josiah's cool.
Hi, Ben.
Yeah, that's it. Every time, like months ago, for some reason, he was there in the morning before church started, and I was playing drums that day, and he was like, "Can I hang out and play the drums with you?" I was like, "Sure." So he was like hanging out in the drum cage, and I let him hit the drums a little bit, which is cool or whatever. But now, every time he's here, he sees me, he's like, "Hey, do you think we could go play the drums?"
Right.
It could be. I'm like, "Well, there's a service going on, and so we can't do it right now." He's like, "Well, maybe when it's over, we could do it." He's like, "Well, it's going to be Sunday school classes. We'll do it again sometime." But I'm always have to be like, "Yeah, well, we can't do it right now."
That's what Ray Ann told Sandra. She was just like, she was telling, "Hey, look, we're about to go up on stage. We're going to do this for your sister," and he was just like, "Well, can I play some drums?"
Yeah, can I play the drums?
And then she was, I think Eric said, "Well, not right now, but maybe later."
Yeah.
Well, he took it afterwards.
Yeah, for sure.
So when everything was over, everybody's leaving the stage. Well, he goes to the drum cage, and he was like, "No, not now."
That's what it is. Yeah, yeah. So he's either going to be a drummer growing up, or it'll just be one of those things where it's like he went through a phase as a kid.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think he'll probably end up playing drums.
Yeah, with y'all's background, and
I don't know what Luke will end up doing with because he loves music. They all love music. They're always dancing and stuff like.
Yeah.
So
they're fine. They'll find their way.
Uh-huh.
Had a great service, man, Sunday.
Yeah, you did good, by the way.
Yeah, a lot of good feedback, man. Just it's encouraging when you really try to follow the Lord and something maybe that you're not really excited about doing, but then when you do it, you get a lot of good feedback. I got feedback from people that I never thought would ever even have my number.
Yeah.
So those things are exciting. And then Brother Richard called and said that he got to pray for multiple people to give their life to the Lord for the first time. So that stuff was exciting to me.
Yeah, for sure. Especially when it's like you said, you weren't really even excited about it, or weren't necessarily planning on preaching that.
Yeah.
And then you felt like you should, and then
here it goes.
You're like, "Oh, okay, I get it." Yeah.
Okay, God. I'll let you do your thing.
I guess you were right.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's jump right into Culture Corner. I got a story for you today. Europe's deadliest heat wave almost defies belief. It's the article headline. So I guess what's going on in Europe right now is they're having this heat wave that's the temperature is getting up to 104 to 110 degrees during the hottest part of the day. And basically what it's saying is just like, I know a lot of people in like our region is just like 104, 105, 110.
I wouldn't do. No, that's hot.
That's hot, right? Hot. It's hot for sure. But what makes this even more crazy is only about 5% of Europe has AC.
Oh, yeah. I'm looking at the map behind you.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, I'm trying to see, like, most of Europe is, I mean, I don't know how accurate that map is, but it's kind of in line with, like, Canada as far as, like, how north it is.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, they're up there. When I think Europe or London, I think, like, rainy, snowy. I never think of it being that hot,
Right. And I guess there has been one other time back in the early 2000s where more than 70,000 people died of heat strokes and heat-related heat-related injuries. Now, only 1,000 people so far, but they said this is just the beginning.
Goodness.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you think of like AC going out in Houston, and it's literally like life or death for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Because
it's tough, man. When the AC goes out on my vehicle, I'm just like, I'll run, check engine light will come on. Oh, no big deal.
get to it.
You got a bald tire, no big deal. AC goes out, pull right into the.
You got to do it.
Yeah. Got to get that AC done.
One of the worst times of my driving life was when I had to drive my little brother's old Mitsubishi Eclipse for a while, and the AC just didn't work for whatever reason. It would only blow super hot air, and it had all black leather interior. Oh. It was just like a little oven in there, and in the middle of the summer, I had to bring like towels and like extra shirts and all. I would just because I would like drive it to college, and you just you show up, you're just soaking wet, and then so I'd have to like change my shirt in the parking lot, and then I'd have to go to class, and come back, and then go to work afterwards. You get back in, and you're just like sweating on the way to work, changing clothes again. Yeah, that was. We've
been looking at Teslas lately.
Oh man,
and
getting in.
I think so, bro. I think I'm getting in. Well, we've been talking about it, so we got on the waiting list. Almost a year ago or something. It's crazy, it's so long. But it's like coming around. So now we have to really like dial in what we want and all that stuff, and if we want it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was just like the problem is you got two colors interior, black or white, and we got kids still.
Yeah.
So
the white would look so clean.
Oh, the white is. I mean, it is.
It's not going to stay white though.
But then you have black,
which would also look nice.
Yeah, but it's like so hot, right? But the good thing about so we were doing some research about the Tesla is that you can have climate control when you're not in the vehicle.
Oh.
So you can like set it to 80 or something like that, and of course it's going to bring the battery down a little bit, but. But you can get in and it's 80 and not 120 or whatever it is when you're like in a black on black vehicle or something like that.
That's classy.
Yeah, so
I like that.
I think we're leaning black, just for the long term look of the vehicle. But they also had. I was looking last night. They have white covers, really nice. So we rented one from like I think it's like Toro or something like that. One of those like Airbnb type car thing.
For cars,
yeah. And they had these white, really nice leather seat covers, and they were like specially fitted and all that. So they look like seats.
You're gonna be those people that have like the plastic cover on your couch, except for your Tesla.
They look like seats, but they're white instead of the black.
Okay.
So I thought, man, for a couple $100 you can get the white seats, and then
that might be good.
And then if they
take them off and wash them,
or when you get ready for resale, just pull them off. You have brand new black seats underneath them.
That's
so
not a bad idea. That's a very David Hatley idea.
That's a good one. Just Noah's just so messy. Shout out to Noah, but
your messy boy.
He is just so messy.
When does that Cybertruck come out?
I don't know. They was waiting for the Gigaplant to open here in
Austin.
In Austin, and then we're gonna start making it here.
Dude, I want a Cybertruck.
Oh, that would be so dope. I was thinking about that.
I really want a Cybertruck.
I was thinking about that, like how I could set my company apart from everybody else.
Because you got the Cybertruck. You
gotta have Cybertrucks. And
it just looks amazing.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Yeah. Anyway, I'll wait till the V2 comes out of it, the version 2.
For sure.
And all that bulletproof glass won't crack.
Yeah.
I'll hit that, and then I think maybe I'll hop on board. By then, I'll have some money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing, man. And we're big no debt, no debt family and stuff. And so I sent Sandra the savings account. I'm like, hey, we did it. You know. So it's finally starting to convince her to go the Tesla route. So we'll see. But that's it. I don't know how we got off. We got the air conditioner stuff. But yeah, I mean, watch out, man. If it's hot out there, I don't see how my guys do it. It's like rough. Blazing hot. I try to work in the mornings from like 7 to 12 or 1, and then come in, from the rest of the day and do the office, part of the job, just because it gets hot. And
It's so
I'm
hot.
getting old.
The problem is when you don't get a break from it.
Yeah.
You can go out there and be really hot and then go chill in the AC for a second, get some water. But
Right.
if the AC is broken and all, and you're just hot for days, that's rough.
Well, yesterday, we got a phone call over the weekend, and this lady says, I think her name was Jordetta Reddick.
It's not a real name.
So didn't know, and so she began to tell me about how her pool was 120,000 gallons.
Yeah, dude, you're getting punked. Georgetta is not a real person.
Okay.
She doesn't have
just
a pool.
Just wait. So 120,000 gallons. So an average swimming pool, your grandfather's pool's 20,000 gallons.
Uh-huh.
Hers is 120,000 gallons. Okay? So, but the name Reddick was very familiar to me because there was an Astros player named Josh Reddick.
Okay.
And I was very familiar with his pool because it's Josh Reddick's pool pulls up under, all these pool magazines and stuff like nicest, residential pool. It has the, the lazy river and big waterfalls.
It's a pool.
It's a pool. It's not really a residential pool.
No.
It's a commercial pool in the backyard.
In the backyard.
Yes. And so I was just like, is this? So I began to do the research. Well, it's Josh Reddick's house. Astro.
So that's his wife.
Yeah, that's his wife. I don't know where Georgetta comes from, but whatever. But we went over there yesterday and we started the pool at 2:00. Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh! By 4:00, I was over there drinking out of the side of the house from the spigot, and I was not prepared for that.
No,
it was hot.
Yeah, how long did it take you?
2 hours. 3 of us, 2 hours.
Mm.
Yeah, average pool 20 minutes, one person.
Mm-hmm. The math adds up.
Yeah,
the name doesn't. But
Josh Reddick, I don't know if you're not familiar with the Astros or anything, but he was always the one to be like, whoa! He always had the Ric Flair.
He's the woo guy.
Yeah, he's the woo guy. So he came out with no shirt on and
just was like, hey, woo!
No, he didn't do the woo. That'd have been awesome.
Y'all just out there like, hey, Josh, come on, do the woo, Josh.
Because Adam just I want to go with you, because I just want to just be cleaning his pool and every 15 minutes go, woo!
He's just winking at you.
But I told the guy, I told the wife, she's the one doing all the business and stuff. And I told her, I said, man, we're really not interested because we have so much work for us to have to put in 2 hours a week with 3 guys.
Yeah.
It's
too much.
It's too much because we could do however many pools in and out.
Taking a loss by taking her business.
But they pay good, and they pay almost $1,000 a month, for keep their pool up. Anyways, I don't put too much of his business out there.
Yeah.
But so she was just like, "What do you think? About doing?" I'm just like, I said, "My son, he's over there." Kelby's out there waist deep in the water because his pole doesn't reach to the other side of the pool, and
he's got a lake out there. Can you clean his lake for me real quick?
And I said, he said he wants to do it. I said, but let the whole Josh Reddick thing wear off.
Yeah.
We're doing a famous person's house and see if he still wants to do it. Just give us a couple weeks. And she was just like, okay, if I need Josh to come out and sign bats every few weeks to keep him motivated, just let me know.
Oh, you should have said yes for sure.
I said, I don't know. He's a young kid. Between some signed bats and jerseys and some food, he might do it.
Give him a few woos here and there. He's out there sweating, wiping it off his forehead. And the guy comes out. Woo! He's like,
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I can do it. Just woo, woo.
All right, what you got?
Well, I got a Florida story. That's right. Where's my buttons? Florida! Anyway.
It's been a while.
I know.
Come on, Florida. Come in strong.
This is from a month ago, too.
Okay.
So, here's the headline. Florida teens just broke into an $8 million mansion, threw a wild party, and shared the whole thing on social media.
Woo!
Yeah, so these guys, it said there was over 200 teenagers there.
Okay.
There's this rich couple. They have this mansion down in Florida. They're only there half the time. So
yeah.
It's one of their places.
Snowbirds.
Yeah. And so these teens know that nobody's there. They decide they're going to have a party, and they just go bust in the mansion.
All right.
So there's hundreds of teens in this mansion.
Do it for the gram.
Doing it for just all taking videos. But, obviously, they shouldn't have broken to the house or whatever.
Yeah.
But, like, they went extra far where they're, like, trying on the ladies' jewelry and stuff. They had a boxing match in the like, foyer area. And they're all taking photos and taking videos, putting it up. And anyway, so now they're like tracking everybody. Yeah, look at this picture. This guy, he's got all the rings on. It's funny.
Here, let me show you my face with all of her jewelry on, so you can arrest me later.
They're so stupid. And it's funny when it's like a detached story.
Until it's your kid.
Or if you think like, yo, that was my house. That's my wife's jewelry.
So did anybody steal anything?
It doesn't say that they stole anything.
Well, that's
but they
nice.
just like broke a bunch of their stuff because they're in there having a rowdy. Yeah, and but so the sheriff saw the sheriff. They keep like quoting the sheriff in this article, and he just sounds like the most typical like boomer guy who's like, these kids don't know with the internet and we're tracking you down. You're not getting.
Well, there's this famous county in Florida where they have this the sheriff that he's just like, I'm going to get you, and you ain't going to do this in my county.
Yeah,
it's probably that
it's
county.
Probably the same guy.
Yeah,
but so they're tracking them all down, going through all their like Facebook posts and all the Snapchat stuff, and anyway, that's it. That's the whole story. I don't think anybody actually got arrested for it. But again, this was like a month ago, so they might have by now.
But the thing about it is like, that'd have been awesome. Like, throw a party in a big mansion, but just like, kids always take you that one step too far. Yeah, they always
go way too far. Instead of having like 20 kids there, they had 200.
Yeah.
Here's a quote from the guy. It says, "It's not funny. It's not fun. It's not cool." Just like... that was like all of his quotes.
I bet you it's that guy because he's like famous on YouTube. Like they put all of his like his interviews and stuff up on YouTube. Yeah.
Here he's talking about if you were there, someone's there, was invited by someone who was there. Do yourself, it's all caps, do yourself a favor and let us know. Come clean and give us the information. And it's just him like giving.
What county is that?
Oh man, I don't know. Let me see if it says at the top. Florida teenagers in Watercolor, Florida.
Oh, I don't think that's it.
It doesn't say the county. Anyway, that's it, man. Them kids in Florida. They're having parties.
Yeah. I don't think that's who I was thinking about. But...
I saw some of the boxing match. It wasn't very good.
Amateurs.
These kids don't have enough training.
That's funny. That is funny. Watercolor, Florida. Yeah, YouTube just brings up a bunch of watercoloring videos.
You're not wrong, YouTube, but this isn't
that's not what I was looking for. The biggest mistakes beginners make in watercoloring.
Yeah. Why don't we check that out real quick? Who wants this? Never mind.
Look, right and wrong. They both look the same.
It's the same picture.
It's the same picture. I think I see Jesus in one.
Yeah, there you go. That's right.
Oh, well, unfortunately, I don't got a song for you today.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I just remembered I forgot to pull a song up.
Oh, well. Hey, next week, we're going to have, next week, so what's today? Today's 19th, so... Yeah, so next week's episode, we're going to have my brother on, and we're going to talk about some of our band stuff, and, we'll talk about all sorts of stuff. But next Friday, is our new singles coming out, so we'll play that for you guys next week, so you can get a little sneak peek of it before it comes out.
You got a video with it?
Yeah, it's all coming out on Friday. They say if you're like a marketing person, you don't want to release it on the same day,
right?
Or you keep the buzz going for a while, whatever. But I'm saying whatever. Who cares? Let's just put it out.
What do they know?
It doesn't matter. We're just gonna do it. We're not Taylor Swift or whatever. Like we're just putting it out for
a lot of. So we'll just talk about music in our music section instead of a song.
Okay.
a lot of people are not even doing whole albums anymore. They're just dropping
it's
like
all singles.
EPs or singles and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
I'm still a fan of the album.
yeah.
There's tons of people out there that still are. But if you're talking about like the overall market in general and what are the kids doing these days, for sure, they're all streaming singles.
And it's the whole thing is just like keeping the buzz going.
Yeah.
You know, dropping
so you put in a new single like every few months instead of going silent for a year or two and then coming out with an album where they only listen to like the top single off the song anyway. So that's the idea. But,
it's kind of almost like comedians. Like comedians, they do like every year, every 2 years, they do a special, right? But if you go hear them at each club that they're doing, like they're introducing new jokes and working on them and you know, preparing to film that that special or whatever. That's kind of like what the music industry is doing right now. They're just introducing one song at a time, and I think they would still be at the end of all of that, just like put it together as
and a lot of people do that too. They'll release like I don't know, like 4 or 5 singles over the course of a year or so, and then a few months after that, they'll put out the whole album.
Right.
But they'll have already released half the album before then, you know. Which I don't know, I'm not as into that, but it's definitely effective. You know, can't argue with it. But personally, I'm a guy who likes to, when I find out about some artist or band that I didn't know about, I'm the guy who like, I want to go see the album that was on, and then I want to listen to that album. Yeah. And
I think I'm probably there too.
Yeah, and there's plenty of people like that, but for sure, if you're talking about overall younger people, they're just pulling up, like they don't even pick the music they listen to. They find a couple songs that they like, and then they go pick a curated playlist on Spotify or wherever, and they just play similar style songs, and that's how they find new music. Which, you know, whatever. That's cool, I guess, for them. But, like,
I mean, that's
that's
cool,
not me at all. I want to pick the exact song, exactly when I want to hear it.
I'm a little bit more complicated than that because I don't want to listen to the same sounding music
that too,
over and
I
over
listen
again.
to so much different music where it's like, anyway.
Can you imagine, like, liking, like, one mumble rap song?
Yeah, and
then
that's all you
put it
hear.
in podcast, and you put it in your playlist, and it's just all a bunch of, like, mumble rap? Like, no, one song was cool, not, 3 hours worth of it, you know?
Dude, and a lot of people, they're using like free subscriptions to stuff. So there's ads like every couple songs. Like that's how Tara is with Spotify. She's got like a few playlists she likes, and like it's they play good songs. But then every like 3 songs, we got to take a 40-second break for ads. And so sometimes we're in the car together, and she grabs the aux cord and is putting on music. And I'm just like, how do you listen to music like this? Like, it's crazy. It's so foreign to me to just like have ads play through stuff and to just not even pick your songs, to just pick one song and then just let some algorithm decide what you're going to listen to. Like, to me, it's such a foreign concept. I'm like, there's no way that they're going to pick the songs I want to listen to. And I listen to albums a lot.
But I think that's probably the average Joe.
Yeah, no, it is. Like, I definitely understand that I'm not the average person as far as, like, the way I consume music. But I also understand that I'm not the only one. There's plenty of other people out there that are similar to me.
Right.
That like bands, that like albums, But
I used to have this. I used to have this playlist called. It was like your recent, most played, most played, and they just iTunes will put it together for you, all your most played. Well, when I was like had an office job where I'm sitting there, you'd pick your music, and then it played this, it curated this really good playlist because it was with most played, and but now that I'm like always busy and just listening to music while I'm working, it's just like randomly picking music. Now my recently most played is just garbage. I'm just like, that's just, I don't even like that song, but it's just like, just playing in my ear while I'm working, and it's just going to the next song, so yeah, that kind of sucks. You have to actually go in and build your own playlist.
But it's so much better though once you do it.
It is.
I don't know.
It is. And then, have like, like upbeat stuff and just, slow stuff. And
I'm also, I can't really get into playlists in general.
Really?
I'm usually like I know, okay, I've got 25 minutes in the car to get to this place. I feel X mood right now. This would be a great album for that. And if I start on song 3, I'll skip the intro that doesn't match the mood I'm in, and I'll have time to listen to song 3, 4, 5, 6 I don't like, 7's a great one. By the time I get there, I'll end on song 8, and that'll be like that's how I think, which is ridiculous. But like that doesn't work for playlist stuff. For me, it's like I know the music that I like, so like I know this album would be perfect for this, or this little 3-song EP would be perfect for this short little drive to the grocery store.
So
or whatever.
What did you play on the way over here?
On the way over here, I was listening to a podcast.
Okay.
Also, I keep listening to more and more podcasts because a lot of times, well, if it's like a funny one, you know, I if I'm just in the mood to laugh, I'll throw that on. But I keep listening. If I don't feel like music, I'll throw on a podcast. If you're just like, sometimes you're just out of it and you're just kind of tired and nothing really sounds good. Kind of like when you're hungry, but none of the food sounds good. Sometimes I'll go to a podcast when I feel like that.
Yeah, I listen to a lot of podcasts. Yeah. Ruslan, something we were talking about earlier. He's somebody that I've been listening to lately. I mean, I guess you would call it a podcast. It's not really a podcast, but him just, you know, talking about different topics.
The YouTube guy you were?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when I was youth pastor, he was a rapper.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and him and his group, I guess you would say, record label, more of a, I guess is the proper thing for it. They got real big into colleges.
Okay.
So they were doing these like small college festival type stuff, and they were like the only Christian group in the whole thing.
Okay.
And they were kind of like you. They were Christians that did rap music, but didn't really do a really Christian rap. And they had some Christian songs, but it was just really like, you know, just positive type stuff.
Yeah.
And so they did real good for a while. So, and he came through our church. You know, when he was on tour, they came through the church and they did some stuff here. So I'm working to get him on. I don't know. He's kind of big league now.
Yeah.
So we'll see. But I'm kind of getting him at a couple different angles, you know, because we helped him out a little bit when he came through here. We found him a spot in Houston,
that'd be awesome.
and stuff like that. Yeah,
for sure.
All right. Well, we got a video we want to play. It's Jorden Peterson. A lot of people know who Jorden Peterson is. And this is the message to the Christian church from Jorden Peterson. Jorden Peterson's a scholar, a doctor.
So he was originally a professor at some university in Canada. I don't remember which one. And then he started filming his lectures for like psychology and stuff. He's a clinical psychologist. So he does, you know, he did all the therapy sessions for years and years and years. So he would give he would record his lectures and put them up online on YouTube just cause. And they ended up like kind of, people kept watching them. They started getting a lot more views and this and this and this. And next thing you know, he was writing a book. His book, what is it called? Like 12 Rules for Life or something like that. And that was like the #1 bestseller for a really long time. I think it's still up there too. And he wrote a sequel to it, 12 More Rules for Life. And anyway, he eventually started like going on tours around the world, giving talks. He did a bunch of stuff with Sam Harris, if you're familiar with him. And they would kind of debate just like theologies, especially religious stuff.
And some of those are really, really good.
Yeah, really interesting.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I guess that's the better word for it.
Yeah, but and he's done all these. I think he mentions in the video here. He's done a bunch of lectures as well on Genesis and a lot of just biblical stuff. So he'll take all these old Bible stories and like really pick them apart, and they're also super informative as well. If you ever just wanted to nerd out about Bible stuff.
Yeah, I think what's interesting with him is that he really leans towards a liberal. I think he's like liberally social, but more conservative in his politics, maybe.
I mean, I guess he's really. I don't know. He's interesting because like the reason he really came up and was like on the scene is because there was this thing that was trying to be passed called Bill C-16, in Canada on, I think it was specifically for the colleges around there, and it had something to do with forcing people to call transgender students by their preferred pronouns.
Right.
And he was like super opposed to the bill. Not because he's like super opposed to trans people or whatever, but he was like, this is compelling speech, and the road that goes down is not okay. And so he like was really against all that, and that was kind of what threw him on the scene several years ago, because all the trans stuff and all, and he was like the guy that was speaking out against it, kind of in quotes, but he was really just speaking out against compelled speech, and it happened to be about trans stuff, and that was kind of what threw him on the scene. But anyway, he recently got kicked off Twitter like a month or so ago because he did he made some tweet about Pride Month, and that person, what's that person's name? They're a famous actor, actress. They transitioned from this girl to a guy, Ellen something to Elliot. Anyway, they're like some celebrity. He like mentioned something about that person. And anyway, they kicked him off Twitter now. And so that was like a month or so ago. And so now he's been just kind of, if you watch any of his stuff, he's been going like hard in the paint now. He's just like really, really against all, it just feels like he's saying exactly what he wants to say. And he's just putting it out on YouTube and just doing, cause it just feels like they just kind of lit a fire in him when they kicked him off. And he's like, I'm going to say exactly what I want. Here it is. Yeah.
I think he's a little bit too left for Christians, but he's way too right for the left.
Sure, yeah. You can say that.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, let's listen to what he has to say. It's about 10 minutes, and then we'll talk a little bit about it, and then you guys can go watch it again for yourself. Take some time to listen to it, and then just talk about it amongst your family and friends, and see what you think.
Hi, all. It is, of course, completely presumptuous of me to dare to write and broadcast a video entitled Message to the Christian Churches, but I'm going to do it anyway because I have something to say and because that something needs to be said. I've been speaking to and watching and listening to audiences all over the Western world for the past 4 years, in person and in virtual form, and have learned a few things in consequence. It all started in some sense with the lectures I did on Genesis in 2017. My family and I took a risk and rented out a theater in Toronto on the off chance that there might be an audience for what might be described as a psychological approach to our ancient stories. And lo and behold, and miracle of miracles, there was. I completed 15 or so lectures walking through the first biblical book, sold out the theater, and attracted, surprisingly, millions of viewers, Christians, Jews, Muslims, and atheists. And most of the people who attended live, and the majority of those who watched online, were young men. That is not a phenomenon that can be easily accounted for, but let me try. Now, in the West, because of the weight of historical guilt that is upon us, a variant of the sense of original sin in a very real sense, and because of a very real attempt by those possessed by what might be described as unhelpful ideas to weaponize that guilt, our young people face a demoralization that is perhaps unparalleled. This is particularly true of young men, although anything that devastates young men will eventually do the same to young women. And that, in this era of antinatalism and equally reprehensible nihilism, is precisely the point. When they are children, boys are hectored for their toy preferences, which often include toy weapons such as guns, and their more boisterous playing style, as boys require active rough and tumble play, even more than girls, for whom it is also a necessity. When in grade school, boys are admonished, shamed, and controlled in a very similar manner by those who think that play is unnecessary, particularly if it's competitive, and who value a docile, harmless obedience above all. Shades of Dolores Umbridge. Following all that, because that's not enough, even when pursued assiduously for total demoralization, is the inculcation of an extremely damaging ideology, which essentially consists of 3 accusations. Number 1, human culture, particularly in the West, is best construed as an oppressive patriarchy, motivated by the desire, willingness, and ability to use power, defined as the compulsion of others against their will, to attain what are purely selfish and self-serving ends. This is true at every level of analysis. Marriage is akin to slavery, friendship to exploitation, political disagreement to war, and business arrangements to deception and theft. And this is true not only of the current social arrangements that characterize our culture, particularly in the West, but also the fundamental reality of history itself. Accusation number 2. Human activity, particularly that undertaken in the West, is fundamentally a planet-despoiling enterprise. The human race is a threat to the ecological utopia that existed before us and that could hypothetically exist in our absence. We might well be construed even as a cancer that threatens the very viability of the complex systems that make up the ecosystem of the earth that shelters and supports us. We are facing a Malthusian catastrophe of overpopulation and biosphere degradation. And we have to place extreme limits on our wants, even our needs, so that survival itself, even in a much reduced form, can be guaranteed. Accusation number 3. The prime contributor both to the tyranny that makes up the oppressive patriarchy and structures all of our social interactions, past and present, and the unforgivable despoiling of our beloved Mother Earth is damnable male ambition, competitive and dominating, power-mad, selfish, exploitative, raping and pillaging. You might think that I'm overstating the case. Think again, sunshine. We in the West are facing an all-out assault at the deepest levels on what that old joker Jacques Derrida deemed the phallogocentric conceptual structure of civilization itself. To take that apart, that's a society centered on the encouraging, adventurous, masculine spirit, and that privileges that hated word of all things, the divine logos. And what should we worship and celebrate properly other than that? Deconstructionists, the words of that mass murderer Karl Marx? And it is precisely those young men who are deeply conscientious, capable of guilt and regret, who have come to believe in pain that every deep impulse that moves them out into the world for the adventure of their life, even that impulse drawing them to women, is nothing but the manifestation of a spirit that is essentially satanic in nature. This is not only wrong theologically, morally, psychologically, practically, and scientifically. It is literally anti-true. It's not a mere misstatement about the nature of reality, a minor conceptual error, but something that literally could not be farther from the truth. And something that distant from the truth comes from a place that cannot be distinguished from hell. The Christian church is there to remind people, young men included, and perhaps even first and foremost, that they have a woman to find, a garden to walk in, a family to nurture, an ark to build, a land to conquer, a ladder to heaven to build, and the utter terrible catastrophe of life to face stalwartly in truth, devoted to love, and without fear. Invite the young men back. Say, literally, to those young men, you are welcome here. If no one else wants what you have to offer, we do. We want to call you to the highest purpose of your life. We want your time and energy and effort and your will and your goodwill. We want to work with you to make things better, to produce life more abundant for you and for your wife and children and for your community and your country and the world. And we have our problems in the Christian church. We are moribund and sometimes, far too often, corrupt and sometimes deeply so. We are outdated, as are all institutions with their roots in the dead but still often wise past. So join us. We'll help fix you up, and you can help fix us up. And together, we'll aim up. And here's a message to those young men skeptical about such things. What else do you have? You can abandon the churches in your cynicism and disbelief. You can say to yourself, narcissistically and solipsistically, the church does not express what I believe properly. Who cares what you believe? Why is this about you? Do you even want it to be about you? What if it was about others? What if it was about your duty to the past and to the broader community that surrounds you in the present? What if it was incumbent upon you and vital to your health and willingness even to live, to rescue your dead father from the belly of the beast, where he has always resided, and to restore him to life? Once again, to the churches, Protestant, you're the worst at the moment. Catholic, Orthodox. Invite young men. Put up a billboard. Say, young men are welcome here. Print some flyers and put them in a box by the billboard. Signal the existence of those flyers with an arrow with the words, more information about attending here. Tell those who have never been in a church exactly what to do, how to dress, when to show up, who to contact, and most importantly, what they can do. Ask more, not less, of those you are inviting. Ask more of them than anyone ever has. Remind them who they are in the deepest sense and help them become that. Your churches, for God's sake. Quit fighting for social justice. Quit saving the bloody planet. Attend to some souls. That's what you're supposed to do. That's your holy duty. Do it now, before it's too late. And the hour is nigh.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Very interesting. So that is Jorden Peterson Uncensored, now on the Daily Wire. Definitely want to give them their props for putting that on.
Mm-hmm.
Don't want to just like rip it off of them and then not give them
Yeah.
proper respect for it. Okay. So that was a lot of stuff right in your face.
Mm-hmm.
So he wasn't really pulling any punches.
That's what I'm saying. He's just saying it now.
So how do I feel about that? Just to be fair, that's the first time I've seen it.
Mm-hmm.
So it was
my second time.
That was a lot to just take in. The human culture, number one, the human culture. Basically, he was talking about, if I got it right, he was talking about in relationships in the human culture. It's more about what we can get out of the relationship than actually have a relationship. Mm-hmm. Just us and being selfish. I mean, and it is what it is, right? We are a selfish human culture, and the human race, male is bad, and or men are bad, and especially white men are bad at this time. I understand where I understand where like the thought process. He's not saying.
Yeah, no, he's saying this is the narrative that's been.
Yeah, this is the narrative. And I see it, man. I see where the culture is saying that. I see where in a time where, from the 50s, where men were very dominant in the home, in the 50s where it was still where the men ruled their house with the sometimes an iron fist, and they were in charge of checking their wives, without a better way to say that. They were supposed to keep their wife in line, almost like another child. So you got 50 years. So we're about 70 years outside of that, and here we are in the 2020s, and so. I mean, it's not a lot of time to really change culture that drastic. And then on top of that, you take male and female, and then everything that you see now, where they're trying to make male and female the same.
Yeah.
And I think as people, as humans, we are the same.
Yeah.
We're equal as humans, as people, as souls, as spirits, but as gender, we're different.
Yeah.
It's biologically, you can look at us and you can tell there's a difference. You see a man with a full beard and you're like, that looks cool. James, you got a nice beard.
Right.
If my chick had that same beard,
you'd love her even more.
I mean, it would just be like, come on, babe, we got to figure out what we're doing here. We're different.
Yeah.
We're different. There's some imbalances and some hormones that we need to take care of. You know what I'm saying? So we're different.
Yeah.
We just looked at the was it the Olympics where we had the guy that was trying to be a lady and he dominated the swimming, right? And that was kind of an eye opener, even to a lot of the people on the left, saying, whoa. Everybody else is 5'7", 5'8", and here comes this 6'6" dude, and he's just killing everybody else.
Yeah.
There is a difference, and we were made to do different things. So I think that it's important that we look at history and we improve on history, but we have to understand history and kind of foundational type things.
Well, so what did you agree overall with what he was saying? Did you disagree?
So overall, I agreed with most of it, right?
Yeah.
The last part of it, I need to go watch it again, because the last part of it, I was a little bit confused because I didn't know if he was telling what he believed or he was saying that from a Christian's point of view. What did you get out of it?
I think he was saying it from like what he believes.
What he believes. What he believes that Christians should do, or he believes that's what he believes.
I think he was saying like he believes that the church is here for this and this and this, and he was saying like, hey, church, you should get back to doing that.
Yeah.
Instead of trying to be woke and like all this other stuff that he was listing out.
Yeah, and so most of that, I believe, he was just really talking about, loving people. We have to love God, and we have to love our neighbor. And he was talking about scriptures that we have. The first will be last, and last will be first. And I think that's something that we have to get back at. We as the church, we do. Especially when you talk about the church and we're talking about, the Catholic, all the different, religions. Sometimes it is a recruiting process and we're like, okay, what can you give us out of this? Instead of, hey man, let's be part of the team and let's do this together. It's more of a one-sided deal. And I think that we have to be very careful of, it's not what can you do for you? What can we do for our country? Type deal. We have to do this together. We have to understand that we're not out there recruiting young men. And why I say that? Why do you think it was targeted to young men?
Well, if you've watched or listened to any of his other stuff, a lot of it does relate specifically to young men, mostly because that's like the majority of his audience.
Okay.
And then I've seen stuff where he kind of addresses that and tries to, because a lot of like what's the word, like critics of him, they'll frame him as some kind of like sexist something or another with all these men.
I've seen some of those debates.
Yeah, and that all comes from like he'll debate like the gender pay gap theory, and he'll be like, well, that's not true because of this and da-da-da-da.
Right.
So then it'll be that kind of stuff
too.
It'll be that kind of stuff.
So that's just kind of where he's coming from right now. He's really trying to...
Yeah, so he's always been kind of in the young man space.
Yeah.
And according to his diagnosis of a lot of the issues in the West, is he's saying a lot of these issues come from the, what's the word, man? Where he's saying that most people are like attacking young men basically, and everything, and a lot of the normal things that make you a man are being attacked, and he's saying that's having a bunch of negative effects on society.
I think he's right. I think the man is being attacked, and then not only that, but I think the lack of male leadership in households in the 90s and 2000s have really put us back a little ways, understanding what a man, and I talked a little bit about it in my message yesterday. When we're 20, we don't know what it looks like to be 30, and we need somebody in our life. When we're 30, we don't know what it looks like to be 40. We need somebody in our life to show us what the next step looks like, and when we don't have that, we're coming from a place of ignorance, and so we're more likely to make bad decisions out of ignorance, not because we want to make bad decisions, but because we don't know. Yeah. We're a teenager trying to make a decisions going into our 20s, and there's a huge gap, like from being in high school, being a senior, you still have all of the resources of, say your parents make $80,000 a year. There's $40,000 each coming in, and so you have resources of $80,000, right? And then you decided, hey, I'm going to go to college. I'm going to try to do this on my own. Right at $80,000 a year, your parents make too much money to get financial help for you to go to college, and they don't make
to really pay for it though.
Right. So now you're stepping out. You're going to try to make a part-time job, pay for your own college.
You're describing my life.
Yeah, right? Getting some grants and stuff so you know what I'm talking about. Yeah. So now you no longer have the access of $80,000, and you're trying to do it on your own, and you're not living on the umbrella of your parents. And now you tend to make some bad mistakes and not be financially stable, don't really have a lot of financial experience, and you get out there and you get, you spend all your money and then you end up getting a girl pregnant, and then you come into this cycle of craziness because you don't have some of that structure that you have when you got home.
And I think the point he's trying to make is, like you said, you need the example of how it is to be in your 20s when you're in your teens and so on and so forth. And I think the point he's trying to make is a lot of that you're supposed to learn through the church, or the church is generally supposed to be teaching you how to do that emotionally, spiritually, and all that. Yeah. And he's saying, it's not doing it. It's one of the things I wrote down that I thought stuck out to me was when he was talking about ask more from the people that you're trying to get to come to your church, which I think is really interesting, because I feel like, I don't know if I'll say most, but a lot of churches these days, they're like trying to cater to people that they're trying to get to come to the church. So they're basically changing up the way their services go, some of the things they believe, their stance on stuff, trying to cater to these unbelievers that they're trying to get into their church. And he was saying, like, ask more of these people, which is really interesting to me because...
I think people, especially men, want to be a part of something. They want to be a part of leadership. They want to be a part of, 20 years ago, membership. So there's a movement going on right now that a lot of churches, especially newer churches that are launching, more successful churches, are no longer having a role or a membership because 20, 30 years ago, it was important to say I was a member at the local Baptist church or I am on the board at the local Church of Christ. That was something that meant something in the community, right? And then, but I think that it's deeper. It's almost tribal. Like for men, they want to be a part of something. They want to be a part of a leadership and move something forward. And I think that's why you see a lot of movements like the Black Lives Matter movement, because you have a lot of inner city people that haven't been able to be a part of something bigger than themselves, have something, a banner that they can stand behind and push forward. Not just the Black Lives Matter movement, but that was just one of them. But anything like that men can stand behind and push forward and carry some of that weight, which is a perfect opportunity. Church is the perfect opportunity for that,
And when he says ask more of the people, I feel like in society these days, and probably true in a lot of the church too, we're not challenging people, trying to get them to be better at stuff, where there's a lot more of trying to tell people it's okay for you to be the way you are because of this and that, because you grew up like this, because you're this gender, you're this race, that's why it's you've got the cards stacked against you and it's okay, that's just how it is for you, instead of being like, hey, you should do better because of X, Y, and Z. And I think he's trying to make the point that that's what the church was supposed to be for people. And when you say, when he says ask more of people, like if I'm a young man, I want you to tell me that I'm not doing right. If you have a good point and it's true,
right? Like
I want you to correct me. I don't want you to correct me if you're obviously wrong and you're whatever. But if you've got a point and I'm doing something wrong and you tell me, I'm happy about that.
Yeah. So Pastor Ron was teaching a class before COVID, and it was just these young guys that wanted to be ministers, and they feel like they had a calling in their life. And he asked me to come in and teach it, teach whatever I thought was meant something in my ministry coming up that people fed into me. And one thing that I was teaching them is if we correct you today, that's because we want you to be here tomorrow.
Yeah.
We're trying to invest some of our time in your life. If we stop correcting you, that means we're already done with you. Okay, he's not getting it, move on. And I think that's sometimes missed because we get so busy, we just let them do their thing. Pastor Anufo and I were talking last week about the same thing, that people want to do stuff, but not everybody's self-motivators.
It's true.
A lot of people will do whatever you ask them to do, and they'll do it happily. But until you ask them, they're going to stand on the sidelines and have their feelings hurt because nobody's asking them to do. People like me, you don't have to ask me. If I see something, we're going to go and we're going to do it, whatever. I'll get other people involved. But not everybody's like that.
Yeah.
Some people need to be asked. Some people can't see the greater vision, and that's why it's kind of what he's saying. There's got to be overall vision coming from the top and pushing down. That way everybody can get behind it and push it forward, just kind of what we were talking about before. Interesting thing that you brought this video. I had another video that we were kind of going back and forth on that I've watched that you didn't watch, but we decided to go with the Jorden Peterson. This was a pastor that has been part of large churches his whole life, and he was really kind of an innovator of the youth ministry. So he started this larger church. His church was doing I think they eventually moved into 2 services, main services on Sunday. He was having to do 3 youth services.
Wow. Where was this at? Did you say where?
He never said. He just said large churches. It almost felt like Sandra and I were guessing Hillsong.
Okay.
It just really had a Hillsong feel to it, and some of the things that he said and different things like that. But he was trying to move away from that style of ministry, so I don't think he was just trying to crap on Hillsong, so he didn't want to say it because he wasn't trying to do that. But he was saying the same thing. He was saying that as churches that we're so involved of having programs that we want to build programs more than we're building the person. And I see that in churches, and we don't do it. And like he said, when I was doing it, I wanted to do everything the best. We're going to have the best sound. We're going to have the best lights. We're going to have the best band. We're going to have the best preaching. We're going to have the best guest speakers. Whatever it is, we're going to do the best.
Sure.
But out of that, it came to where like a lot of the things, instead of the focus being on the people, the focus became being the best.
Yeah.
You know, and I see that's kind of where he's talking about that we're losing focus on what's the most important thing.
Yeah.
And as church, the most important thing have to be the people. Even if you want to give them the best programs, we can't forget about why we're building the program. Because I think program is important. Mm-hmm. We have to have programs. We have to have discipleship programs. We have to have Sunday school. We have to have stuff for the kids. We have for the youth, for the young adult. We have to have those programs, men's and women's. Church can't exist without the programs. Mm-hmm. But the most important part, it has to be the people.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, something I liked from the video, just I liked that, like, the overall conviction that you could tell he was feeling.
Yeah.
And you know, maybe you disagree with him and don't think that the church is where they're going to find whatever they're looking for or whatever. But I appreciated that you could tell he really, really cared.
Yeah,
about...
it's from an honest place, right?
Yeah.
There were some theological things in there that I need to go back and listen to again. And
yeah, it's a lot in 10 minutes.
Yeah, and look up. And I'm not the smartest person in the world, so some of those big words, I'm not really for sure what he was trying to say. I got the gist of it, but there were some pretty big words. But there were some a couple things he said that didn't hit my spirit right, and I'll have to go back and listen to it again to see what he was saying. But I don't want to comment on him right now, just because I want to make sure that I'm right.
Yeah. But again, it's like you could tell he's coming from an honest place. He's trying to, like,
and it's always cool to hear somebody that is not like deep off into it, coming from an honest place.
Yeah.
Because they're able to look at certain things differently, not with a bias.
Right.
You know, and I'm not saying that looking at it from a Christ bias is a bad thing, but a lot of times that we do get too deep in something, and you know,
get caught up in it.
I
you
call
can
it
miss some
overly
points.
saved sometimes,
Yeah.
and we lose perspective.
Definitely.
And so it's good to hear stuff like that, and it's good to hear other people say certain things that sometimes are not even positive towards what you believe.
Yeah.
That way you can kind of like recalibrate.
Yeah, like I said, man, if I'm doing something wrong
Yeah.
and you tell me and you're right, like, I'm happy about it.
Yeah,
you
for
know?
sure. And then I always wish my mentors would do more of that. And I know mentors, they don't want to like pound on you and be like, come on. But I'm different. You know, I don't need you to tell me that I'm doing good all the time. That's not me. But I want that criticism that make me better.
Yeah.
I need the opposite.
But I don't think you're that different, though. I think most people are some level of that. Obviously, some people are more sensitive than others, but like, people want to be told, like, people don't want to be told that everything's okay when they're feeling horrible.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, what is that? Like, this is all good, everything's cool? It's like, no, they want to be told that, like, we're doing stuff wrong. I could be doing better this way, that way. You know, there's some kind of hope. There's some kind of, you know, light at the end of the tunnel. Like, because what they're doing isn't working. They don't want to be told that, like, yeah, keep doing it. You're doing good. It's like, they want to be told, like, hey, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah.
This is how you should do it.
Yeah. Center struggles with that a little bit with me, because I've always asked her, I need you to be the one. Like, you to be the one that tell me if it was good or bad. But at the same time, she wants our home to be that place where I feel like I can come and be loved and all those things. And it's really a tough balance.
Yeah, there's a balance
for that,
sure.
For that situation, especially when you see a lot of ministers failing and different things like that. She doesn't want me to be able to come home and then just, like Sunday, you know, she was honest with me about a couple things that I said in my message and I went back and listened. It was one of those things where she said it was borderline disrespectful. Okay. But this is the problem. So when I preach, and if you're a part of our church, just listen to me when the preacher's up there preaching and we say certain things. That doesn't represent our wives, our kids. Sometimes it doesn't even represent the church. That's just thoughts from us. And she gets the eyeballs, and it's not fair to her.
Yeah.
It's not fair for people to kind of turn around and be like, oh, he said that, And so she's already feeling this place of, especially for me, because I'm a wild shooter. I get up there.
From the hip.
Yeah, I get up there and I say some crazy things sometimes. And so she's already nervous and already, kind of on the edge. And then when people start looking at her, she's now when I say something, it's even like this bigger of a deal. But I went back and listened to some of the things that she was saying. And it wasn't that I was being disrespectful, but some things that it didn't make a difference that I said them. It didn't have to be there. I referenced Christians living in abundance, and I don't think I said it in the first service, but in the second service I said something like, when we was going through COVID, we was living in abundance in America, and when we was going through COVID, every time I sat down to use the restroom, I had to go to Amazon to look for toilet paper. It didn't have to be said. We're now in America, we're not living in abundance, blah, blah, blah. But I talked about sitting on the toilet, which, she
didn't like that.
It didn't make a difference. She didn't like that. She just thought it was a little bit too far, I made my point, but then I went one step too far. Anyway, I don't even know why we're talking about that.
Yeah, there's worse things you could have said.
Yeah, but it's just like one of those things like, I don't even know where I was going. Yeah. But just like, hey, don't look at my wife when I'm preaching.
That's where
That's where I'm going. I don't think that's where I was going. But
that's where we ended up. We're here. Stop giving her them looks, people.
And some of them are our friends. Like, oh, here goes Pastor David again.
Talking about being on the toilet. Always.
But anyways, being my biggest critic, but trying to love me at the same time. Yeah, that's where we were going. But we have to have those critics in our life. I have to for her to tell me, hey man, because this is the problem. Everybody will tell you, oh, that was a great message. Oh, you did good today.
Yeah.
And then you get in the car and she was just like, but that was the worst thing you've ever done.
I've never heard a worse message in my life.
And she's never told me that. But you have to have those people in your life that are real to you, Yeah, very interesting. So now I'm intrigued, and I'll probably go back and watch that a couple more times.
He also put out, like a week or so ago, a message to Muslims. He's put out like a few of these message things on YouTube.
I heard him not too long ago talking about the Christian or the Bible Museum, and he was talking about that and how it really changed the way that he's seen his belief in God and Jesus. So I think I'll be interesting to see where he lands in the next 10 years.
Yeah, for real. Because he's one of those like thinker people who's going to study all these different religions, which is a good thing. It's valuable for sure to know. If you're going to talk bad about Islam, like you should know what you're talking about.
Yeah,
and I feel like he definitely does.
Yeah.
And I think his daughter is pretty big on the internet too. I think her name's Michaela Peterson, if I'm not mistaken.
And they're all meat eaters.
Yeah, she has some kind of autoimmune disorder, and I don't know if he's ever been diagnosed, but anytime I've heard him talk about it, he just says like he tried it out because his daughter tried it out, and like a bunch of her symptoms that she was always having were going away, and so he tried it out, and that seems to be working for him. And that was kind of where he left it. Was like, look, it seems to be working for me. That's it.
He said meat, salt, and water.
Yeah.
And then he drinks like tap water, spritzer.
Yeah, I don't know.
All these different. And the guy that was talking to him was just like, that's just water, right? He goes, but when you drink just water, those are four different things.
Yeah, I think his whole family's got a bunch of different autoimmune issues. So
and it's interesting, man. Those different diets out there, like stuff like that, is just like interesting how they all do something a little bit different. And
I brought her up because I saw something a while back where she was talking with somebody, and she was like, "Yeah, I think I found God over the weekend."
Yeah,
and
I think I heard that
talking
too.
about that, how she had this big experience. So, anyway, so I know that they've like talked about all that stuff. So, but I don't. He won't come out and say he's a Christian. He has trouble saying I believe in God. If you ever watch anything where he's talking about it, but then like he'll live his life by all these biblical teachings that he'll teach on, and so it is interesting.
Well, you even hear like people like Joe Rogan that's really came out and almost mocked the Christian faith.
Yeah,
and I think it's funny that I don't know if it has anything to do with him moving to Texas, but he's been a little bit more. You know, he's backing down a little bit on some of those things, and now that he's saying, well, the Bible is probably a good place to live your life from, and different things like that.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you ever hear him talking about Christianity, he almost always brings up Chris Pratt, the actor, because apparently they're buddies or whatever.
Yeah.
And he's always like, he's such a good example,
right?
And he'll just talk about how great Chris Pratt is,
right?
And there's a lesson for you people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's interesting. Yeah, go check it out, man. Listen, we bring some of these things up, and we want you to go out and look at these from a critical point. We're not bringing you some secular things for you to go out there and say, hey, Justin Peterson is the
Jorden.
Jorden Peterson, thank you, is the right answer, and he's theologically correct and all those things. So just want to put it out there when we kind of focus on something like this, and you go up, but you have to make sure that it aligns with the word and all those things. But it's good questions and good conversation for you and your people to talk about, because iron sharpens iron, and that's what kind of this podcast is about. So just us having conversation and letting this iron sharpen iron. We're headed to the men's advance this weekend. So yeah, so we're gonna have a good time out there.
When y'all leaving, coming back?
We're coming back, leaving Friday, coming back Sunday. So we'll be here for the service on Sunday.
Oh, y'all come back early then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, nice. I think I'm coming back Saturday night.
You're cutting it short.
Yeah, because you just get up in the morning and leave and go to church.
It's funny when you do stuff like that as an adult. Like those are always options for you. But as a kid, they ship you off and you're stuck. I'm just gone for a week.
Well, when at youth camp. Especially when you're a youth and then you graduate to youth leader, one of the big things is like you get to sneak off in the mornings in the church van and go down to the, McDonald's and get a cup of coffee and a real breakfast, instead of the camp food, so that was the big thing. It was like, all right, all the leaders sneak off before everybody gets going and we'll get back. And and then when you go to adult camp, you do whatever you want to.
Yeah, everybody just figure it out, guys.
Yeah, that's it. All right, guys. Well, we'll talk to you next week, and we love you.
This is the Refuge Project.